So today, to revive the hope of peace and a two-state solution, I state clearly, as Prime Minister of this great country, that the United Kingdom formally recognises the State of Palestine.
יש לי מסר נוסף עבורכם. זה לא יהיה. לא תקום מדינה.
In a dramatic shift, four major Western nations formally recognized the State of Palestine on Sunday, marking a historic diplomatic realignment. Britain, Canada, Australia, and later Portugal announced recognition in coordinated statements, signaling mounting frustration with Israel's Gaza offensive and the stalled two-state solution. Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney wrote on X that his country recognizes the State of Palestine and offers our partnership in building the promise of a peaceful future. British Prime Minister Keir Starmer fulfilled his July pledge to recognize Palestine if Israel failed to commit to a ceasefire and the two-state framework.
So today, to revive the hope of peace and a two-state solution, I state clearly, as Prime Minister of this great country, that the United Kingdom formally recognises the State of Palestine. We recognised the State of Israel more than 75 years ago as a homeland for the Jewish people. Today, we join over 150 countries who recognise a Palestinian state also. A pledge to the Palestinian and Israeli people that there can be a better future. In the face of the growing horror in the Middle East, we are acting to keep alive the possibility of peace and a two-state solution. That means a safe and secure Israel alongside a viable Palestinian state. At the moment, we have neither. Almost 2 years after the barbaric attacks of October the 7th, hostages are still held by the terrorists of Hamas. Recent images show the hostages suffering and emaciated. Hamas even refused to release all the bodies of the dead. I have met British families of the hostages. I see the torture that they endure each and every day. Pain that strikes deep in people's hearts across Israel and here in the United Kingdom. The hostages must be released immediately, and we will keep fighting to bring them home. Let's be frank. Hamas is a brutal terror organisation. Our call for a genuine two-state solution is the exact opposite of their hateful vision. So we are clear, this solution is not a reward for Hamas because it means Hamas can have no future, no role in government, no role in security. Meanwhile, the man-made humanitarian crisis in Gaza reaches new depths. The Israeli government's relentless and increasing bombardment of Gaza, the offensive of recent weeks, the starvation and devastation are utterly intolerable. Tens of thousands have been killed, including thousands as they tried to collect food and water. This death and destruction horrifies all of us. It must end. With the actions of Hamas, the Israeli government escalating the conflict, and settlement building being accelerated in the West Bank, the hope of a two-state solution is fading. But we cannot let that light go out. That is why we are building consensus with leaders in the region and beyond around our framework for peace. This is a practical plan to bring people together behind a common vision and a series of steps, including the reform of the Palestinian Authority, that takes us from a ceasefire in Gaza to negotiations on a two-state solution.
French President Emmanuel Macron, which spearheaded calls in July for coordinated recognition, said,
Bonjour à tous. Écoutez,
I wanted to make this brief response because, over the past few days and weeks, I've received many comments and questions from you, sometimes a lot of anger, sadness, sometimes encouragement, about, of course, the decision we made to recognize Palestinian statehood, and also the situation, above all, the current situation in Gaza. So I wanted to tell you that, like you, I was wounded, hurt, and share the pain of all the families of the victims and hostages of October 7, 2023, and that we have not forgotten any of them. Just a few days ago, here in this office, I was alongside some of these families. I absolutely have not forgotten the pain, the suffering, the distress of all the families of the victims of Gaza and those who are living today under bombardment, without access to humanitarian aid. And ultimately, all lives are equal, and behind that, we have stolen lives, lives taken away, people who are suffering. What France wants is an immediate ceasefire. What France wants is for the 48 hostages to be released without delay. What France wants is the return of humanitarian aid to Gaza. What France wants is a possible tomorrow in Gaza, with Hamas dismantled and removed from power. What France wants is a reinvented, renewed Palestinian Authority, school curricula that will not teach hatred, and the conditions that will allow peace at the heart of this Palestinian Authority. What France wants are two states living in peace side by side. A state of Israel that recognizes a state of Palestine, a state of Palestine that recognizes a state of Israel, a state of Palestine that will be demilitarized and that will live in peace alongside Israel. This is what we will achieve on September 22 in New York. This recognition is the beginning of a journey. It's a journey with all these conditions, these requirements for the stakeholders. And ultimately, it's a journey, a path for peace, to save lives, and to try together to live up to what we owe ourselves, human dignity.
avec toutes ces conditions, ces exigences pour les parties prenantes.
More than 140 UN member states already recognize Palestine, a number steadily rising amid alarm over Israel's Gaza campaign. Israel's reaction was swift and furious. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu declared, I have a clear message for those leaders who recognize a Palestinian state after the horrific massacre on October 7. You are giving a huge reward to terrorism. And I have another message for you, it will not happen. A Palestinian state will not be established west of the Jordan River. For years, I have prevented the establishment of this terrorist state despite tremendous pressure both domestically and internationally. We did this with determination, and we did it with diplomatic wisdom. Moreover, we doubled Jewish settlement in Judea and Samaria, and we will continue on this path. The response to the latest attempt to impose a terrorist state in the heart of our land will be given after my return from the United States. Wait for it.
יינתן לאחר שובי מארצות הברית. תמתינו.
President Isaac Herzog doubled down, warning, this will not help one Palestinian, it won't help free one hostage, and it will not help us reach any settlement. On X, he called it a sad day for those who seek true peace. Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas hailed the UK's decision as an important and necessary step towards achieving a just and lasting peace, saying it would pave the way for the two-state solution. The announcements have left Israel increasingly isolated from its closest allies. Even as Washington remains firmly opposed, the diplomatic tide appears to be turning, further reshaping the geopolitics of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict.